Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. I know it's just Tuesday, but I hope you're making a dollar and a difference this week. I've got my friend Anna Bradshaw on with us today, a powerful young woman, a super coach. She's going to help us navigate our conversation. We're going to do something special today. I'm going to break format. Many of you all know that we have been teaching on Prism, that is letting your light shine, that light that God has given all of us. We're a prism. We have a productive capacity, a relational capacity, an intellectual capacity, a spiritual capacity, and a moral capacity. That is God's light, the prism. Our job is to be clear, remove all darkness, and allow God's light to shine through us. And it shows up in that productiveness, that relativity, that intellect, that spiritual, and that moral. And so today we wanted to do something just a little different. We've been talking about that for the last few weeks, and we thought it would be interesting to just do a Q&A. I mean, we can talk about what we think is helpful, but you all know what you're going through. You all know what will make the biggest impact in your business, in your leadership, in your relationships. And so I just said, you know what? I'm going to do something different. And plus, I left my laptop cord. So, you know what I mean? I didn't have much of a option. So once I got to the office, I thought Anna was going to be in the office, but she's out gallivanting in the street. She did a big time presentation today for Augusta Tech and their leadership staff. So I guess she felt like her job was over for today. So I don't know where she is or what she's doing, but I thank you for joining us, Anna. Anna, let's do this. I think, can you see the chat there?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow you to open up the floor. If anybody has any questions, I want y'all to do me a favor. I want you all to put it in the chat. Okay. We can see everything it is that you say. I see y'all coming on, saying good evening. I appreciate all of that. If you have any questions, anything that we could help you with as it relates to your personal or professional life, it all impacts business. If your mind's not right personally, it's going to be hard to do well professionally. If you're not doing well professionally, it's going to impact you personally. And so no question is off bounds. As long as it's something that you feel we can help you with personally or professionally, we want to do that. Anna's going to open up and help get the conversation started. Anna, why don't you get us kicked off?
Yeah, one of the things, a big takeaway that I got, especially from your coaching and mentorship and tutelage, was not pitching from my own pocket. I tend to be a little stringent with money. And I tend to be a little bit of a penny pincher.
a little stringent.
A little, gotta be wise with your money. And so but I think at the root of it was insecurity in my value and my worth. And so I was afraid to charge or to ask for what I cognitively knew that I deserved and all the training that I'd done. But in my heart, it was hard for me to believe that I was worth that. And so I would pitch from my own pocket, which once I can be kind of cheap. And two, I didn't believe that I was worth the value that I really am worth.
Well, Anna, you are worth it. And I think the biggest insight that I think I could give our audience based off of what you suggested I helped you with is it's going to be hard to elevate in your personal, professional life if you don't know who you are in Christ. Mm. And I think that when you would come to me and we would talk business and we would build products and we would talk pricing and all of that, I felt like your biggest hindrance, the lid that you were putting on yourself, because other people saw the value, the lid that you were putting on yourself was you weren't fully confident in what God was calling you to do. Therefore, you thought you were taking advantage of somebody else by asking them to pay for the purpose that God had given you. What does that make sense? What do you think about that?
It does make sense. It does. I mean, our first conversations were like, you're like, I'm a purpose coach. I was like, well, I don't know what I want to do. I want to live in Europe and backpack around. I didn't know who I was. I knew that I was gifted and could learn things really quickly. But yeah, when now operating under a conviction to know this is my purpose, and if God of the universe is inside of me and is calling me to do this thing, then I know what my value is, and I know I'm doing what I should be doing.
And what I want you to walk away with, even today, once you got confident in what you were called to do, other people got more confident in it. And people like to pay for things that work.
Yeah.
And oftentimes people will meet you at your own point of expectation. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner out there, don't pitch from your own pocket. Don't put your insecurities on somebody else. As long as you're one step ahead of who you're helping, it's worth it. Don't believe you have to be perfect to make profit, because if that's the case, none of us deserve it. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, let's just keep it real. Yeah. And just because you may not be able to afford you doesn't mean somebody else can't afford you either, because sometimes, depending on where we come from, it's like, man, we know our personal budgets and we know what we can afford, but we put that on somebody else. That's why, to be honest, that's one of the reasons I'm such a big proponent in investing in other people, because it's almost like, because I don't cap other people's value, I know I'm going to reap what I sow, so nobody else is going to cap my value. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I try to be super generous with others. Like, if this is what if this your price, here it is. If I go somewhere, I want a tip. If I go somewhere, I want a valet. If I can invest in somebody else, what it does is it give me a confidence in how I approach others. Cause like, I'm an investor. Like, if you're not an investor, we're not going to be good for each other. And so I just want to encourage everybody to, if as Anna said, if God has given you a gift, how much is that gift worth to somebody else? And you're not being greedy for getting what you're worth. It's called sustainability. There's nothing wrong with profit. It's only something wrong with selfish profit, selfish ambition. And so don't pitch from your own pocket. You're holding yourself back. If God has called you to do something, put a price tag on it. Make sure what you're giving them is worth that price tag, for sure. You don't want to take advantage of anybody, but at the same time, you want what you're worth.
Yeah. I hear the can't lose energy. Remember, we would say that a lot too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we can't walk around scared. We can't walk around afraid. We got to know who God has called us to, and people are attracted to confidence. So that's good. We have any questions in there? Thank you for sharing that, and I think that's gonna be helpful for somebody.
Yeah, I hope so. Learn from my pain. I do see one that says encouragement on looking for God in every situation, especially the bad. But don't forget, y'all, put your questions in the chat so you can also get some micro coaching. But Shanta Williams said encouragement on looking for God in every situation, especially the bad.
Ooh, thank you for that, Miss Williams, and thank you for your engagement. I see you. You're on the Monday Motivations. You're on the Bible and Business. I appreciate you plugging in. To be honest, Miss Williams, that's hard. We all have ups and downs in life. We all have challenges, and sometimes it does get overwhelming. And if we're not careful, we'll let what's going on around us get in us. And what helps me the most is believing what God has said and not what I see. Remember that Hebrew says, faith is the evidence of things that are unseen. So if I believe it, I've got the evidence already. I can't allow something physical to override what's spiritual, because remember, physical comes out of spiritual. We are spiritual beings in a physical life. So spirit overrides physical. So whenever we're going through a challenge, we can't but allow that challenge. We have to pray. We've got to fast. We've got to get encouragement from other people to do this. But we've got to fight with everything that is within us, not to allow what we see that's physical to override who God says we are in the spiritual. And so sometimes God allows us to go through difficult situations, A, to increase faith, B, to, give us what we need. I always say that pain is a passport. What I mean by pain as a passport is a passport certifies your identification, and a passport gives you access to new destinations. So what pain does when we handle it the way that God has called us to is it helps you to see who you are. It helps you to develop character. It helps you to grow in your integrity. It helps you to increase your faith. And when you develop your character, when you grow in integrity, when you increase your faith, guess what happens, Miss Williams? You get access to new destinations. That's why pain is a passport. And so I want to just encourage you to trust God. Know that he wouldn't bring you in a situation that he couldn't bring you out of. Don't just go through, grow through, and understand that that pain is certifying you and hopefully elevating you to new levels in your life.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. We got some shy people today.
You
I'm
don't
gonna
have any
ask,
more questions on there?
I'm gonna ask a question.
Okay.
What would you tell 14-year-old Yannick if you were,
Mm.
yeah, what would you tell 14-year-old Yannick?
Oh, you getting deep, Anna.
I know.
I would tell 14-year-old Unique. Let me think about where I was there because I don't want to give you some fluff answer. I would tell 14-year-old Unique, my dad just passed away. My mom is obviously I wouldn't know this at 14, but I did have an inclination. My mom was about to pass away. I was very angry. I was doubting God. So me being where I am today, I would tell 14-year-old Unique not to panic. God has a plan. That if I had just like 10 seconds to talk to myself,
Mm.
I would say, don't panic. God has a plan. Because I panicked. You know what I'm saying? I started to act out. I got I got real wild. You know what I mean? And it was because I didn't think God cared. I didn't to when you found out that your dad's having an extramarital affair, contracts HIV, and he gives it to your mom, you stop trusting. You stop believing in order because stuff is just way wild. Like this is crazy. This is a freaking Twilight Zone. Um, but God had a plan, and kind of to what Miss Williams said, um, it was inside that pain that I found purpose. I could not have gotten to where I am today if God had not allowed that pain. And so, some listeners may know this, some may not. But at the age of 6, I said that I wanted to be a teacher so I could teach people about God. I've shared that. I've written that, shown that I had written that down at 6 years old. So that pain was a part of the purpose, because how could I teach people about a God that I had never met? How could I teach people about a God that I had never doubted? How could I understand somebody else's doubt if I had never doubted? How could I understand somebody else's fear if I had never been afraid? And so what God did was he blessed me with the gift of pain.
Mm.
So, yeah, what do you think about that? Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, it does. I mean, it's very simple, but oftentimes the simplest stuff is the most profound stuff. Um,
Mhm.
that's the stuff that lands. Um,
Yeah.
I have another question for you. Oh, here we
Okay.
go. I'll ask mine after hers.
Okay.
Okay. So Shayla is asking, how can I find a rhythm between my passion and my purpose, or is there such a thing? Ooh,
Yeah, that's a good one.
that is a good one.
Um, I would, yeah, there is such a thing. And I'm glad you said rhythm because balance is a myth. Uh, People with purpose rarely have balance, but we can have rhythms. Um, and I would say that passion and balance of passion and purpose can only come from God. Like I would tell you this, that is not something that you can manufacture. I always say if you chase purpose, you know, paychecks will chase you, passion will chase you, productivity will chase you. Let me give you an example. My purpose was to help families and youth and families overcome pain and maximize God's potential. But I couldn't find balance between what I love to do and that purpose and until I started serving. So I helped at-risk youth. I ran mentor programs. I served, and eventually my purpose and passion did begin to balance. But it wasn't anything that I could manipulate. I just had to go and do what God told me to do each day, and then eventually that rhythm came. So I want to encourage everybody listening to find out what God has uniquely created you to do. What, and when you begin to do that, everything else falls in place. Because whenever you're living out your purpose, you're living out God's divinity in you. The Bible says that we were created in God's image and his likeness. So God's imprint is on you. There's something unique that he wants you to bring to the world. And when you start bringing that, everything else begins to align.
Mm, that's
What
good.
are you thinking? That made you look like that made you think, Anna?
Yeah, I mean, it's just again, figuring out what your purpose is. And then for me, that was I knew my value. I knew what I brought. And so the can't lose energy became a lot easier to where like, no, I'm
Mhm.
doing what God designed me to do. I know this is my gifting. I might not be great at it right now. I might be learning, but this is what I'm supposed to do. So um yeah.
Yeah, that's
That,
good.
yeah. All right, here's my question. So you've been oh, no, I'm gonna go ahead, but Robert just asked one.
Okay.
No, I really want to ask this question. So
Okay.
your sermon series with Chosen talking about messy people. What's what is the line of getting support? I'll just say as a woman, oftentimes we're emotional and sometimes I just
Mhm.
need someone to talk to and kind of process with. How do I balance the like processing and getting support and it not turning into something that is harmful and could harm someone's reputation? How do I figure out that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've got several. That's not the first time I've been asked that. A is I think obviously it's healthy to get insight and inspection and support as it relates to what we may be thinking and how we're thinking it. What I always tell people is you never have the right to get help while hurting somebody else.
Hmm.
You never have the right to get help while hurting somebody else. And what I mean by that is if let's say me and you had an issue, Anna, and you, I was really getting frustrated, and I really was trying to figure out if it's me, if it's you, etc. Then an easy way to do that is I can talk to somebody about what's going on without using your name. That's one thing. Or I could talk to somebody who doesn't know you, who will never know you, that could give me some insight without um, ruining your reputation, etc. If I go to somebody that is close to you or that knows you and give a grievance, then their perspective is going to shift. And that would not be fair to you because you weren't there to give your side of the coin, and this because this person heard your side or is your friend, then you've created an enemy of that other person. And so I just think it's important for us to protect people. Again, there's a lot of people we can talk to get help with things, counselors, therapists, family, and that may not be involved in what we're going through. And, we most of the time, you don't really have to share names or anything personal, and you can get the help that you need without hurting somebody else who, truth be told, may not even be wrong.
Right. That's good. That's
does that make sense?
Yeah, it
Would
does.
you agree with that? Or
yeah, I agree. Sometimes it's hard to, the person may know who I'm talking to, or like know who I'm alluding to because they know me. And so even that to me is like, well, they're probably going to be able to use deductive reasoning to figure out who I'm kind of communicating. So sometimes but it's helpful.
What would you do in that case?
Talk to a stranger on the bus.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm never gonna see again.
Yeah, you being funny, but yeah, I mean, like talk to somebody that wouldn't know or wouldn't. Oh, and if that's impossible, at least talk to somebody who isn't close. You know what I mean? Like your mom. Like if you and I were going through something and you wanted to talk to your mom about it, that would be totally different from going to somebody that I'm close to or somebody that I lead, or, you know what I mean? Like, I still wouldn't love it because I would want to be your mom's friend. You know what I mean? But again, that's your mom. Like, if she doesn't ever want to talk to me or like me, then that's fine because she's disconnected. So again, there's ways that we can get support without injuring other people that we work with, other people that, we live with, other people in our friend groups, and just being messy.
Got it. Okay. That's helpful. Alrighty. Okay. So Robert had a good one. So Robert said, how do you protect yourself from complacency in your business? Things could be going well, but should we consider changing things up from time to time?
That's good, Robert. Vision. Remember, the vision can't be accomplished. So no matter how well things are going, I can't take my foot off the pedal because I ain't done. And it's not about how well things are going, it's whether or not I finish. So for instance, if my purpose is to help families overcome pain and maximize God's potential, as long as there's a family in pain, I got work to do. So for me, I reverse it from. So for instance, if I played in the NBA, my goal would not be to win a ring. Because once I got the ring, where's my inspiration now? My goal would be, Yannik, try to be the best basketball player that you can be every single game. So as long as I'm missing shots, I gotta be focused. I gotta watch tape. I gotta practice. So the goal has to be something that's going to inspire me outside. Again, I don't set monetary goals. Why? Because one day I may make that number. And if that was the goal, then yeah, I could always change the number, but that's just kind of corny. You know what I mean? Like, so the vision has to be something that's going to keep me working with passion every single day. And that's why we write vision statements.
Yep. And in general with business, you want to iterate. You don't really, if you're doing the same thing, you're just going to decline. And so, yeah, you definitely want to be changing things up.
Wait, Anna, maybe. Mm-hmm. The reason I say maybe is why am I changing something that's working? I may not want to change anything up. If I am, depending on what my job is and what I'm called to do, that's and I'm not saying you're saying this, but I'm saying we got to be careful because that's the squirrel mentality. Oh, I'm doing this and I'm tired of doing it. It's the same old. Well, if it's working, I mean, yeah, you're free to go start another business and try to make something else work or whatever. But we got to be careful about building disciplines and getting direction. And then because we get bored going to do something else that maybe we're not even called to do, that is what causes us to lose momentum and lose focus. So I wouldn't necessarily say, yeah, I need to be switching it up. I may not. I mean, again, I've been doing the same thing for 15 years. Every single week, 2 or 3 times a week, I preach on Jesus. You know what I mean? I'm not changing that. You know, does it get boring sometimes? Well, technically not really, but you know, I do not always feel like reading. I don't always feel like teaching or whatever the case may be. But if that's the purpose and it's working, I have to stick to it until God says switch and do something different.
Well, I'm more thinking from like a competitor. Your competition is going to catch up to you. I wasn't coming at it from like this is redundant and boring, although that is kind of how I feel doing monotonous things over and over again. But I was more thinking your competition is going to catch up to you. If you're not iterating and changing, then you're going to turn into a price war, me too, instead of I'm doing these things. So,
you meant iterating your product or coming up with a new idea that advances the other idea type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
But what you said is fair. The shiny object syndrome, where like we're gonna try that thing because they made 100K in 2 days.
Right. Yeah. But I see what you're saying. You definitely can't get. I mean, that's what happened to Blockbuster, right? They like, I don't care about this digital thing. The internet's a joke. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a fad.
You're a joke. Yeah.
Right.
It's a fad. Right.
All right. Well, we have 2 more minutes. Justin made a comment. It's not necessarily a question, but I think he's having a hard time setting boundaries with clients. It seems like they're asking him to commit to something and he's not able to, and then it makes him look bad when they're kind of pushing him 2 times he's not available to. Do you have any insights on how to communicate client boundaries with clients?
Yeah, onboarding. Onboarding is the key. Onboarding is where we set the stage for relationship. And so whatever issues you are having, you need to put in your onboarding process and address them up front. That's the reason for an onboarding call. That's the reason for an onboarding meeting. That is when you address the things that will prevent pain in the relationship. So if a customer is not understanding their boundaries, a client's not understanding what's okay and what's not okay for the relationship, that's because most of the time those boundaries have not been communicated well. And so you've got to make sure when you onboard a client, those main pain points are addressed up front so that they don't become pain points later and become bad customer experiences for your client and for you.
Yep. That's perfect. Nice. Okay. Well, we're at 7:00. That concludes our Q&A.
Is that good?
Yeah. I don't see any other. Andrea liked what you said. She said expectations have to be set in advance and you have to be firm on them. Sounds like parenting.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Well, listen, I thank everybody for tuning in. Smash the share button. Share this with somebody if you think any of the insights we gave were helpful. Remember, join us here next week. Bring some family, bring some friends, bring some coworkers, bring some clients, and make sure you keep connecting with us. We want you to know how much we appreciate you. And we hope you're learning and growing from the insights that we're giving every week. Remember, your business needs to be based on the Bible. Scripture is eternal insights that God has given us to increase our income and our impact, to make a dollar and a difference, and ultimately allow God's light to shine in and through us as it relates to how we live our lives. So thank y'all for tuning in, and I hope y'all continue to make a dollar and a difference this week.
Bye, everybody.